Okay, let's dive right in. We hear a lot about hope, especially when things look, well, pretty bleak. But what if hope isn't just a feeling we wait around for? What if it's actually a muscle we can build, a skill we can practice? Today, that's exactly what we're digging into, the practice of active hope.
Does this hit home for you? That feeling of being a passive observer while the world is in crisis? Like you're just a spectator to your own future. It's a story a lot of us have been fed, and honestly, it can leave you feeling completely powerless.
But hang on, here's a totally different way to look at it. What if that whole story is just wrong? What if instead of being helpless consumers, we are actually powerful participants in the way the universe is unfolding? This single shift in perspective, well, that's the foundation of everything we're about to talk about. So, to really get how we make that shift, we first need to get a handle on the problem. And the thing is, the problem isn't just a bunch of separate crises happening at once. It's a crisis of the story we've all been living by. The word for what we're living through right now is the meta-crisis. It's this recognition that all these massive challenges, climate change, social division, economic turmoil, they're not happening in isolation. They're all tangled up together, feeding into one another. They're all symptoms of one single underlying issue.
Right. So the core idea here is that this meta-crisis comes from a broken narrative, what we can call the old great story. This is the story that taught us that we're separate from nature, that our whole goal is to dominate and grow endlessly, and that success is all about how much stuff we have. And that story is now pushing our entire planet to its breaking point.
But here's the good news. Stories can be changed. Right now, we are standing at a crossroads. There are three competing stories about where we go from here. And we actually have a choice, a real choice, about which one we decide to live inside and bring to life.
And this slide really lays it all out. This is the fundamental choice of our time. We can stick with business as usual, which is basically the story of denial. We can give in to the great unraveling, that's the story of despair. Or we can choose the great turning. This third story doesn't ignore the crisis. No, it looks it right in the eye, fueled by the belief that we have the power to build a future that actually sustains life. And this is the story that active hope gives us the tools to write.
So how do we choose that third story, right? Especially when the news is just screaming the great unraveling at us every single day. We need a tool, not just a nice idea, but a tough, resilient, practical tool. And that tool is active hope.
Let's be super clear about what this means. Active hope is a verb. It's a conscious practice. It means looking at the world with clear eyes, holding all the uncertainty, and then choosing, day by day, to act for the world we want. It's something you do, not just something you feel.
This illustrates the difference perfectly. Passive optimism, that's a spectator sport. If the odds look bad, you pack up and go home. Active hope gets on the field. It looks at the scary data, sees the huge chance of failure, and decides to act anyway. It's not about guaranteeing a win. It's about who you choose to be in the middle of the fight, no matter what.
Okay, so if active hope is a practice, how do we actually practice it? Well, there's a really powerful framework for this, and it's called the Work That Reconnects. Think of it not as a straight line, but as a spiral, a journey we can come back to again and again to get stronger. This spiral has 4 stages, and they all flow into each other. We start with gratitude, which grounds us. From that place of strength, we find the courage for honoring our pain. By facing that grief, we can then start seeing with new eyes, shifting our whole perspective. And finally, that new vision is what empowers us to go forth and turn that insight into real, meaningful action. So let's walk through each of these steps. The whole journey kicks off with gratitude. Now, this isn't about good vibes only or ignoring what's wrong. It's the exact opposite. It's about deliberately connecting with what we love about this world, the beauty, the people, the simple joys. This practice is like filling up our emotional gas tank. It gives us the deep down strength we're going to need for the tough stuff ahead.
So with our tank full, we can now turn to a really crucial step, one that most of us try to skip, honoring our pain. The despair, the anger, the grief we feel for the world, these are not weaknesses we should just push down. They are proof that we're connected. They're a measure of our love for life. By making space for this pain, we stop it from paralyzing us and actually turn it into fuel for action.
Once we have that foundation of gratitude and we've turned our pain into compassion, we can finally start to see with new eyes. This is where we really break free from that old story of separation. We start to shed that illusion of being this isolated little individual and instead begin to feel, deep in our bones, just how connected we are to the entire web of life. Now, all this inner work, this spiral journey, it isn't just for our own personal benefit.
It is all designed to lead us somewhere specific, to effective, meaningful action right where we stand.
The final stage is going forth. This is where we move from just learning about this stuff to actually doing something, taking action locally. We ask ourselves, okay, given my unique gifts and where I am, what can I do? And the answer isn't about saving the whole world by yourself. It's about contributing your piece to the great turning, building resilient communities from the ground up.
So, as we start to wrap up, I want to leave you with a few questions to take with you. First, just an integrity check. What is one hard truth about our situation that you've been maybe looking away from? Just naming it is the first step toward facing it with courage. Second, think about connection. Because here's the thing, restoring our world cannot be a solo project. It just can't. It requires all of us working together. So who in your community can you link arms with, maybe even today, to start building something better?
And finally, a question about legacy. I want you to imagine someone living in your exact town, but in the year 2126. If you could tell them about your life, right now, what would you say you did during this incredibly important moment in history? What choices will you be proud to tell them you made for the world you left behind for them?
The time for just watching from the sidelines is over. The work is clear, the path is there, and our future really does depend on the choices we're making right now. The music is playing. It's time to move.